How you doing? If you didn't recognize, that was the great Buddy Rich. The greatest drummer of all time. So, how many of you here have heard of Buddy Rich? Good. Can't forget him. I owe so much to him. When I was a kid, and I still was a kid, he came out publicly and said that he liked my playing. Of which I had one of those Wayne's World I'm not worthy moments, you know. So when somebody like Buddy Rich says they like your playing, it carries a lot of weight. So basically what I've been trying to do is just, since then, and that was probably 35 years ago, 40 years ago, a long time ago, I've just been trying to live up to that, you know, that belief he had in my playing. So I'm glad you're here today. My name is Danny Seraphine. I was the founder and original drummer of the band Chicago for 23 years, which was a privilege in and of itself. You know, I'm happy to be here with you all today and share, you know, some of my knowledge and hopefully wisdom. You know, learn from some of my mistakes and some of my good things. So I'm going to play. I'll play some Chicago things, and I have a band called CTA, which is kind of a modern day version of the original Chicago Transit Authority. And then, of course, we'll do questions, and I'm going to finish off by playing with the band here, which I'm really looking forward to. Anyways, so let's get on with the music part of this.
Good.
I like playing with the band better. But my phone's going to have to do. Oh, great. Thank you. Any questions about that song? Anybody? Any of you drummers? May as well. Yes.
What is that one track you played like 3 chords?
The song has. This was the first song that we recorded. Chicago Transit Authority, 1969. It was written by the late great Terry Kath, and yeah. It probably is the most representative track that the band ever did of what Chicago was all about. Excuse me. It's in 4/4, goes to 3/4, then it goes to 19/8. Yeah. Then back to 3/4, then 4/4. But the 19/8 is counted. Funny story, we were playing the Whiskey a Go-Go in 1969 with Jim Keltner. You've all heard of Jim Keltner, right? He was with the other band. He was the drummer, and he said, how do you count that? And I actually had the subdivisions written on my snare drum because it's counted 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 1 2. I know, but I had to write it. So the way it's played is it's basically. But that was, let me just tell you where that was derived from, so you go listen to the source. I don't know if you've probably never heard of the Don Ellis Big Band, have you? Anybody here? Well, there was nobody that played odd times like Don Ellis and his drummers, and there was a particular track that he did a whole song in 19/8. I mean, you know, we took that idea and put it in, and then of course I rocked it up a little bit. Because I am a rock drummer underneath the jazz, and I love jazz. I love jazz rock equally, so that's why it's so prevalent in my playing. But anyways, that's the answer to your question. Yeah. Yes.
Hey Danny, one comment about the 19/8.
Yeah.
Was there any Latin influence in the band?
Oh yeah.
At that time, because those kind of rhythms are very common in flamenco music.
Yeah, I bet they are. Yeah, but yes, there was that particular use of it was more jazz, swing, but yeah, there was a lot of Latin influence in the band, for sure. And then once we brought in Lagier de Oliveira, the Latin percussionist, it really got enhanced, so yeah. Speaking of Latin, let me play something that has maybe a little bit of a Latin.
He just passed away. Yeah, last year.
Oh yeah, it's lit.
I wanted the song to go a little longer, but it faded. So that was one of my. So someone asked about a Latin influence. There's definitely a Latin influence there. I was fortunate enough to have a brilliant Brazilian percussionist. He passed away recently. His name is Lagier de Oliveira, a wonderful player. Let's hear it for Lagier de Oliveira. Let me, I want to acknowledge a really close friend of mine who I think is one of the most important men in the drumming business and the education side, and he's an amazing player. Please say hello to my friend Dom Famulero. He's from Long Island. Where are you, Dom? Is he still here? Come on. This guy makes such a difference in educating people in the world of drumming. Anyways, Dom, I love you. Let me play, I think, my favorite groove for you. A song with my favorite groove.
Okay.
I love the title of that song. It's called Antonio's Love Jungle. I don't know what it means, but I like the title. Any more questions? Let's do some more questions so I can get my heart rate down. Yes.
You really gracefully move around from the snare all the way to the floor tom and back around. Like you have no issues going from drum to tom to tom. How did you get so fluid in that?
I've been playing for 60 years. You know, it's like it becomes, when you do it so much for so long, it becomes, like they say, like riding a bike through surgery. And I've watched Buddy and Gene Krupa, Max Roach, right? All the great drummers, Tony Williams, and how they get around like Buddy's. The floor tom is a little bit lower, so you can kind of, but you know, you can almost close your eyes and do it, as long as everything is about where you think it is. You know? What, honey?
Your eyes were closed.
Yeah, my eyes were closed, you're right. Well, you understand that, don't you? You're just grooving and, you know, it's like, you just grooving and get into it. That's the greatest thing about what we do. How many are you musicians here? Right? So, when you get into the zone, which is that's our drug, is getting into the zone. You don't need really don't need anything else than that. But it's an amazing high, the dopamine high from playing great music and just, you know, sharing with people. Oh, any other questions? Come on. You got to have some questions, right?
Ask him now. Nobody's packing up.
Do you have a favorite Chicago tune?
Do I have a favorite Chicago song? Not really, but I love Beginnings. Because, you know, I remember recording it and I remember the producer. I remember you know, that album was one of the first true stereo drums album, right? My drums were, if you listen on headphones, they really go, you know. And the producer knew that, so he was in the booth, and I'm recording, and he's standing up going, you know, through the whole song. I mean, no matter where it was, he was going, Phil, because he loved the drums would go there, and he'd go over there. Consequently, I overplayed the hell out of it. But you know, it worked, and so that's a real vivid memory of mine. So, yes.
You ever take lessons or just learn?
Yeah, no, I studied with a lot. I studied with the first really impactful teacher his name was Bob Tillis. He was the head of percussion at DePaul University. And if you know anything about my story, which you probably don't, I quit high school at 15, right? I was in street gangs and music saved my butt. But he kind of took me under his wing, and I after school, I'd go in the late afternoons and work with him, and he turned me on to Buddy. I was a big Gene Krupa. I grew up on Gene Krupa, and he turned me on to Buddy and Elvin Jones and Tony Williams and Max Roach, and really took me from being I was a rock drummer, rock funk drummer. I always had that big band flair from the Gene Krupa, but so that I studied with Bob Tillis, and he transformed me. It just like took me from there to what people he got what I was trying to do, which was infuse jazz into rock. And the next teacher was when I moved out to the West Coast with the band in 1968. I studied with a gentleman by the name of Chuck Flores. Really, if you look him up, he's a really great jazz drummer. Played with Woody Herman, also a really good small band, you know. And he got what I was trying to do and honed my tools so I could do what I wanted to do, which was again fuse jazz and rock. And then I had the great privilege of studying with Papa Joe Jones in New York City. You know, we were doing a lot of gigs, recordings in New York, and he was teaching privately at a pro drum shop in New York City. So I've had some amazing teachers that have just, and of course, you know, having, you know, Buddy take me under his wing and Elvin Jones, and you know, it was really, I'm really one of the lucky ones. Let me tell you, I got to hang with the cats, and they were really, you know, they were all about music and not about money. I can tell you that. You know, and then music was everything. You know, of course we all want to get paid, and we should, but it doesn't always work out that way. But we have our music, you know, and we treat it with the utmost of respect and kindness, and it'll be good to you. You know, right? So how many of you here are drummers? How many of you take the time to tune your drums? To really tune them? Because remember, you want to get, everybody tunes their instruments, guitar players, so drums can be out of tune and in tune. These drums are really tuned pretty well. Right? Kick drum. The snares a little bit high for me, but it sounds great. And I'm using, one of my sponsors is Aquarian Drumheads. This is a series they call Modern Vintage. It's I recorded the first 2 Chicago albums using catheds, believe it or not. Because obviously I heard about the early days. I've listened to the early records, and you can hear it. It's really organic. So, but this is their version of a cathode. Snare sounds nice and fat, but without any padding on it or anything, And so they're called mountain vintage, Aquarian drum heads. Any other questions? Yes.
What are some of your favorite things to practice?
Well, lately I just sat in with the Buddy Rich Band twice, once in New York and once in LA. Kicked my ass. So I've been playing a lot of Buddy stuff and revisiting, and then just going, oh my God, I'm 69 years old, and it's stretching me, and it's really great to be stretched at 69, because it's real easy. It would be real easy for me to eat Italian food and sit on the couch and watch football. I tend to do that too, but. So, Buddy, I listen to Miles. I listen to a lot of older stuff, some of the, Steely Dan, probably the same things that, you guys, I'd like to know, who do you listen to?
Oh, me?
Yeah. Oh, Steve Gadd, yeah, it's good. Oh, yeah. You listen to the great guys. Dennis Chambers, wonderful drummer. Yeah, he's a great drummer. Great cat. Really great. Great feel. Great feel. What's that? I don't know him. What's his name?
Fred Boswell.
No, don't know. I got to check him out. I know. He's what? I'm sure. That's the thing. The state of the art of drumming has never been better. We just need more gigs for all the great drummers, right? That's it. Because there's as a drumming community, we share everything. It's not like I don't want you to know this lick or that lick, or like there's certain instruments, and I don't want to say who guitar players are, but I love no. But guitar players tend to be like, man, that's my lick, Whereas drummers, we go, here, try this, because we know you're gonna. I could show you the exact same lick I play, and you could play it almost exactly. It's going to have your DNA on it. It's going to be different. So. And also, we almost got replaced by drum machines, so we figured we better stick together. So, I don't really have one. It's whatever I'm playing good. The Make Me Smile lick is a pretty popular lick. That's what I'm known for. You want to hear that?
Yeah.
Then I'll play the song. So it goes. That's I'll tell you a story. It's part of a 12-minute, like almost classically written piece. So I got all these movements. But what Columbia Records did was, they were having a problem getting us on radio because our songs were too long. So Clive Davis had an engineer edit the beginning of that. It's called A Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan. It's 12 minutes long, to the beginning to the end. The tempo is matched. So anybody who talks about talks crap about my time, well, they can, what? Because they edited that and it matched up perfectly. My time does move, but just enough. So I didn't hear it that way until I was driving in. I was in LA and I'm driving on the San Fernando, on the over, what do you call it? The San Diego Freeway, right? And all of a sudden, at that time I was driving a Volkswagen Beetle with 140,000 miles on it. Hadn't made any money yet, right? And I had the radio on, and all of a sudden I hear that song start, right? And then I hear it jump to the end, and I jumped off the freeway, got on the phone with my manager, started cursing him out. What did they do to our music? And he said, Danny, it's being played on 75% of the radio stations in the country. And I went, ooh, can I go buy a Mercedes? I pretty much did. The used one. So that lick is, I think that's probably what Buddy heard, and he heard that and he said, wow, that's got a lot of me and a lot of Gene, and it's got some of Danny in it. So I'm going to play that song for you now, okay?